Okay, I'll hand over to the chair.
Good evening and welcome to the Licensing Subcommittee. Today, the 22nd of September. My name is Councillor Asha Oka and I'm the Chair of Licensing. Before we begin, if I can have those present to introduce themselves, starting with the councillors on the committee, then the officers, the objectors and the applicant. Firstly, I start with the introduction. I'm Councillor Asha Oka. I'm developer from Northumberland Park and Chair of Licensing. Members, you can now introduce yourselves.
Councillor Nick Costa, member for Highgate Ward.
Councillor Clarkson, member for Crouch-End.
Now, officers, if you can introduce yourselves.
I'm Michelle Williams. I'm the legal advisor.
Dale Barrett.
Dale Barrett, licensing team leader. Now, objectors, if you can please introduce yourselves.
In the middle.
Robert Bailey.
President for the microphone.
Robert Bailey, which is a matron.
Parks president.
And I think we've got another resident online.
Mr. Ward, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Mr. Ward, can you hear us?
Mr. Ward, can you hear us? You're muted at the moment. Okay, well, Mr. Ward is present, he's muted, but we'll come back to him to see whether he's got any technical difficulties, but we'll move on now to the applicants. And now I'm going to please introduce themselves.
Good evening, ma'am. My name is Bill Long. I'm the licensing consultant from Silver Fox Licensing Consultants. And to my left, I have Mr. Harley, who is the director of District 22 Limited, the applicant in this matter.
Thank you. And now with the first item of the agenda, filming at meetings. Please note this meeting is being recorded and will be available for public viewing. Second item, apologies for absence. Are there any apologies for absence? But I believe there's a substitution.
There is a substitution, so I'm just received from Councillor Leston.
Thank you. Third item, urgent business. Are there any items of urgent business?
No questions.
Thank you. Fourth item, declarations of interest. Do members have any declarations of interest? Most fifth item, summary procedure. The procedure for the meeting has been emailed to all participants by the clerk. For the purposes of any members of the public watching, we will first hear from the licensing officer. After that, the objectors will present their case and the committee and applicant will have the opportunity to ask questions. Then the applicant will present their application and the committee and objectors will have the opportunity to ask questions. All parties will then have the opportunity to sum up and then the meeting will conclude to allow the committee to deliberate and reach a decision. This decision will then be provided in writing within 5 working days of this meeting. Additionally, I move to note the ground rules for this hearing as follows. If you wish to speak, please raise your hands and direct all communication via the chair. We will take all papers as read unless there is anything you wish to draw our attention to. All speakers will be allocated 5 minutes to speak. When speaking, please be succinct and do not exceed the allocated time unless you request for an extension of time, which is at the discretion of the chair. Please do not share addresses of speakers. And in the event that there be several speakers for each party, please avoid repetition and perhaps consider having a spokesperson to address all concerns. Thank you. Now on to the sixth item, which is the application for a new premises license at District 22, 83 Mains Road, Woodgrave, London, and 2260 North Park. Ms. Barrett, please can you introduce your report?
Thank you, Chair. Before we get underway, Honourable Chair, Mr. Don sent through this morning, I received, it was a document that was setting out the planning matters that you sent through, I believe. Sent it to myself with the committee clerk. As it's late, it's not here. If I'm happy to speak to it, I can definitely, I intend to cover it anyway when I'm doing the report, just to set out the background information about the planning commission. That's all it was really, Mr. Don's happy with that.
Mark, if I just interject in terms of procedural matters, it's going to take me much longer than 5 minutes to put my case. I appreciate it's an evening hearing, but we need to give due cause to this because it can become quite a complex matter. The hearing regulations do not stipulate 5 minutes. What the hearing regulations stipulate is that each party will be given equal time. And it's much better to highlight that now at this juncture within the meeting than later.
Well, yeah, the purpose of the round was is to make sure that each party and individual has equal time. So we will be timing each speaker to ensure that they stick to the 5 minutes. And if you do require an extension, you can ask myself, but please don't make sure it's not beyond, 10 minutes or so. We need to make sure we kind of keep to time as well. Thank you.
The planning sheet that you're referring to is the additional payments.
In the secondary?
Yes.
Sorry, Chair, let me just. Page 25, oh, we haven't got that one then.
It's on. Lots of
Towards the end of the.
Oh, I haven't got it in terms of that, but
Oh, okay. So I will speak to it anyway.
You may present.
Chair. So the panel has before them an application for a new premises license for district. It's being called District 22 at 83 Mays Road in Woodbury N22, which is in the Old Park Ward. The application is submitted by Mr. Aldo Tapali for the above named premises, and at 1.1 you have the hours that are being sought on the original application, Chair. I should only point you, Chair, to the latest documents. So the first additional bundle you have on page 1, Mr. Don has subsequently submitted a revised operating schedule with reduced hours that he's seeking for. And if I run through them quickly, Chair. So they are now offering or asking for that recorded music is removed from the application. I should, however, stipulate at this point, Chair, that if this license were to be granted and they get the ability to do on sales, then they'll be able to still do regulated entertainment on the premises between the hours of 8 AM to 11 PM in any event, because then they can do so under the exemption without it needing to be stated on the premises license. So what is now being requested is for the sale of alcohol Sunday to Thursday from 4 PM to 11:30 and Friday to Saturday from 4 PM to midnight. And the hours open to the public will be from 8 AM until midnight, Sunday to Thursday, and on Friday and Saturday, 8 AM to 1:30 AM. Mr. Tapali, he's saying he's intending to put himself forward as the DPS on this application, and Mr. Don is also within this document set out a number of offered conditions, Chair. I'm not going to go through them because I know the members have obviously read through this document also, but can I, at this juncture also, Chair, point out that the initial application that was submitted by Mr. Tapali, he'd used a different agent, and that initial application did not specify on the plan the outside area at the front of the pub. It really only took into consideration the inside of the pub and the back area where that's used as a shisha lounge. So you will note that the plan submitted by Mr. Don the other day now is showing the front garden area on the plan now to also be considered. However, the applications itself do not specifically point out any specific measures that have been put in place about those particular, other than the outside area at the front or at the back. So no specific timings. I don't believe it's Don will be able to correct me if I'm wrong when he's speaking to his client's application. No specific clear about the timings of how the area would be managed in order to ensure that the purpose of the public is subject to the so that's general update on the application, Chair. Throughout the consultation period, there have been representations. So you have the representation in the pack from the licensing authority, from the noise officer, which is quite extensive. Also from residents and the police also put in representations. Also, residents are here this evening to speak to their concerns. In terms of recommendations, Chair, going forward, the subcommittee may determine to grant the application as requested, or to grant the application after proposing additional conditions or ordering it in some way in the proposed operating schedule, or to exclude any licensed activities from the application. Obviously now the revision that Mr. John has put in is now only seeking for the sale of alcohol. Maybe Mr. Don will like to clarify if late night refreshment. I think it's not being sought here. I think it's not being sought.
No, I can confirm we're not seeking authorization for late night refreshment. It's
Just-
purely for the sale of alcohol.
Okay, thank you for that. And of course, the committee may decide to reject the whole or part of the application, and as the members know, that of course reasons must be given for any determination. In terms of the background, the premises has operated as a public house for many years, was required to have regulated entertainment added to the licence in 2011. The application did receive objections, but extensive conditions were added to the licence and granted by the licensing subcommittee at the time. The premises, however, went on to become a source of complaints relating to most instances of crime and disorder on the street outside for patrons and those associated with the venue. The ongoing issues at that time led to residents applying for a review of that particular premises licence in late September 2016. That was heard by the licensing subcommittee in December 2016, and the committee took into consideration the record of incidents related to public nuisance of crime and disorder as submitted by the local residents at the time. And also by the...
Sorry, we've reached 5 minutes. Is there?
Sorry, I do need to set out so that all the parties know. The committee was satisfied that despite having had a number of opportunities to address the public nuisance and disorder that were emanating from the premises, the management of the premises had failed to take adequate steps. In determining the review that had been submitted by the residents, you have in the pack, Chair, the hours that the licensing subcommittee then determined at the time. That is set out. They also said that the outside shisha area was closed to all customers at 22:30 Monday to Sunday, and all customers were required to come inside in that time. That licence then fell away, and of course now Mr. Tapali has put in his application seeking the ability to operate this particular area. Mr. Tapali has been operating at the premises and on a number of occasions, the enforcement team has visited the premises and found unlicensed or unauthorised licensed activities taking place on site, and various warning letters, and there's also a list of complaints that has been attached to the report also, Chair. I should stress that complaints have been received, even when Mr. Deparley did put in a temporary vent notices. And also when the premises was being operated without any authorization as well, complaints were also received. Chair, I won't talk about this guidance, but I'm sure you're well aware, and I know the legal officer will no doubt run through with you. Just in terms of background with the planning permission, Chair, so this has been a public house, and it's a very old planning permission that they have here. So there were no conditions relating to the hours of operation at this particular premises. So any references to breaches of law is really specifically in relation to the Licensing Act, as the licenses, of course, as you know, are required for the sale of supply of alcohol at a premises, or to offer regulated entertainment from the premises, or to supply hot food and drink after 11 p.m. I'm covered already that Mr. Dunn has sent the updated documentation through, and you've all had an opportunity to look at. Just to finish off that, of course, in terms of equalities impact, at the time of writing this report, there are no implications for equality and diversity, and any decisions at the licensing subcommittee made will be in accordance with 4 licensing objectives as prescribed in the legislation, Chair. And of course, the Human Rights Act does fund it. And there are the, if you have any questions for me.
Thank you, thank you, Ms. Barrett, so much. Do members have any questions for Ms. Barrett?
In terms of the, which is also worth asking as well, in terms of the representation from licensing, police, and noise, how those representations reflect on the new application?
They are, the representations are reflecting, really, Mr. Deparley has been operating at the venue. So they are, I suppose we can say that the representation is submitted by the various authorities is from a place of knowledge, because they've either visited or carried out enforcement visits, or when tents were removed, or when there was unauthorized activity taking place there. So they have interacted with this.
Any questions?
No.
Objectives, do you have any questions?
I didn't quite catch the new.
I'm certainly aware. So what is now being proposed is that the application is only now seeking for the sale of alcohol Sunday to Thursday from 4 p.m. to 11:30, Friday and Saturday from 4 p.m. until midnight. Hours that they say the premises to be open to the public is from 8 a.m. to midnight, Sunday to Thursday. Friday and Saturday from 8 a.m. to 1:30 a.m.
Is there any questions from the objectives?
Address my question to the representative.
No, it's just for the licensing officer. We'll come to that point afterwards. Just for the licensing officer, if you've got any questions.
Before part of this application, why didn't District 22 do all the necessary work inside of establishing soundproofing? Because that wasn't done.
That would really be a question for.
Yeah.
I cannot answer that, so that'd be for Mr. Department.
Yeah, it's, if you can wait for that, when we ask the question.
License. You can't do. Why wasn't there work done in your establishment?
Okay, yeah, you can ask that question when we're having the Q&A for the.
In that case, if that's the case, the license should be held back until that work is done.
Okay, Mrs. Wright, you'll have your chance to make your representations, but this is purely to ask the licensing officer for any queries that you have. Okay, if we can now, any other further questions from the objectors?
Sorry, Chair, can I just come back on the question Councillor Buxton asked,
Yeah.
please, in answer to the new application? So, sorry, I did say when I was doing this that the new plan, obviously, now showing that additional outside areas, that wasn't known by the responsible authorities when they were initially going through the 28-day consultation. And so it wasn't mentioned on the application, and it wasn't shown on the plan. So yes, the our responsible authorities would not have been able to consider that particular area and any particular conditions that they felt would have been necessary in managing that outside area in front.
Thank you, councillor De Costa.
So just a clarification that relates to the front garden raised timber decking.
That's correct, yes, it was not shown.
Yeah, sorry, just to follow up on that, I mean, it's more in terms of because the new application has conditions on it which are obviously taken from or inspired by
Yes.
the police, noise licensing, and assume some residents in place. So just kind of word for word, they've said subject to these conditions, we'd be happy, X, Y, and Z. Do the conditions match, basically? Why not?
Right, so what's happened is that document has been shared with the responsible authorities, and within the pack, you do have, the police have not responded to it, but I'm aware that the noise officer has responded to it, and you've got their ongoing concerns on page 9 of the additional bundle there. Further queries.
Cover this in my presentation.
That's fine.
Okay,
Thank you. Any further questions from the objectors for licensing officer? No? The applicant, do you have any questions for the licensing officer?
The noise team are represented today, even though this is a representation, is that correct?
they're not here.
The noise team aren't here, so we just have to take their information within the papers as is. I think we'll move on to the objectors, so we can please start with Ms. Noshada Shah.
Chair, if I may say, in terms of procedures, normally the applicant will go first, and then that's followed by questions from the committee and for those that have made representation. Then the individuals or departments who make representations then present their case. We have the opportunity. I think that's the correct protocol for these matters.
I mean,
Well, the council has its own protocol, which was shared before the meeting started, so we'll go in accordance with that.
and also, if you cannot speak straight away, if you can just raise your hand, as I said in my ground rules, so we don't get any interruptions. Thank you so much. So Ms. Shah, if you can please provide your presentation, please keep to the 5 minutes. Thank you. Sorry to interrupt, we can't hear you properly. Maybe bring the microphone a bit closer. People, everyone here? Yeah. Yes.
So, basically, the residential properties have been adversely impacted by noise nuisance from the operation of premises, including at a time when Mr. Topali was doing so without valid authorization, and at the time was when the tenant was issued. If the committee are minded to grant the same timing as set out in, if they are granted this license, we would want the timing to be set out in the Sparrows report showing the hours imposed following the review of the old license. And with regards to Mr. Topali, yes, we're not confident that Mr. Topali has shown himself to understand what it means to be a responsible trader and to follow the law and abide by the rules to date. We're concerned that the application does not address the potential for music and people noise arising from the external areas at the front or the rear. The external front area has been discussed and was not shown in the original plan, and has only been added since Mr. Dunn took over the case. It was therefore assumed during the consultation process that the area was not in use, as it was not referred to in the original application, and therefore was not consulted within the 28-day disclosure period. The time now has been far too long to actually be considered properly. So we believe that the front area should cease to be in use by 9 p.m. latest in order to prevent public nuisance. Similarly, the application is silent on whether music will be played in this area. Whilst the revised operation schedule is saying that regular representation will be removed, the fact remains that they would have the ability to have music up until 11 p.m. if there is on sales. The shisha area should not have any music played in at the time, as it is an external area by the very nature of the requirement. The law is to remain open, and therefore will give rise to noise nuisance from people noise to music noise if this is permitted. The shisha area should cease to be used by 10:30 p.m. the latest. J. No music should be played at any time in the external area, front or rear. Thank you.
Thank you. Do members have any questions for Michelle?
Just in terms of the open public space and also might get an application from legal as well. What is, you mentioned the law on playing music can be outdoor space. Maybe just have a clarification on that.
Yeah, so they can play background music in this space. I mean, as you know, the client is actually saying that they're not going to be playing any music at all. But what the panel needs to be mindful of is the fact that when you've granted them the ability to do on sales, then they may potentially be offering music on the premises. So it's for yourselves to determine when, what you think is proportionate in terms of any conditions to ensure that the prevention of public nuisance does not arise from any of the outside spaces.
Ms. Barrett, do any other members have questions? Does the applicant have questions for Michelle?
Chair.
Oh, yes, sorry.
Sorry.
Yes, Councillor Foster.
Just wanted to clarify, this is the problem, the cables are so short. In your initial report, page 25, you stated the outside shisha smoking area, i.e. at the rear, people should be asked to come inside at 2200, but you just said 2230 now. Just wanted to get clarification, please.
This is the revised operation schedule.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, the applicant, do you have any questions for Michelle?
No, ma'am.
Chair, just a point of clarification.
Can we just clarify, please? Sorry, just realise. So what Mr. Don is asking for the sale of alcohol, we're talking about 4 p.m. to 11:30 on a Sunday to Thursday, and on a Friday 4 p.m. to 00:30, which is obviously reduced from what the licensing authority is therefore asking for because it's going on the old one still. And also in terms of the closing hours, however, Mr. Don is asking for 00:30 Sunday to Thursday and 1:30 a.m. on a Friday and a Saturday. And of course, the licensing authority are asking for reduced hours, so everything would actually finish before midnight, say 23:30 or midnight on a Friday and Saturday.
Ms. Barrett. Any other points of clarification? Okay. I think we'll move on now to the next objector, Mr. Robert Bailey. If you can please present, please keep to the 5 minutes. Thank you.
I've lived on Maze Road for about 24 years. I've got a good idea of the demographics of the area. I just wanted to say that basically the people that live beside the hut and the people that live opposite riding. They're mainly elderly people, families with children, people at work, and obviously their school children. There are quite a lot of people with mental health and physical barriers. It's just right outside the pub and right opposite. Of all those properties, I'll give us a spot check the other night. If there are 12 properties opposite me, there's probably about at least 20 households. Where I live, there's probably about 8 households. That's about, I'm underestimating, but I'd say there's about 30 odd that are directly affected, like in households. And you'll notice that if you go down that particular area, you'll notice that between 11 and 12, the lights start turning off. In other words, people are starting to go to bed between 11 and 12, and they wake up between 6 and 7 o'clock in the morning. Okay, they have to go to work, they have to go to school, etc., etc. So what these new hours are doing is heavily intruding into that routine, which is vital for anyone's mental health. You need 7 to 8 hours undisturbed sleep. I think we can all agree with that. This will undoubtedly intrude on that. The other point I wish to make is on crime, and there's been so much detail in the applications that it makes it very long. It seems pretty long. There's quite an expectation of crime. Seems to me. What they've done is they have for themselves, they've put in CCTV or supervisor and an incident log. And I quote, "This is for the safety and security of the staff and patrons." No mention of the resident. For the residents, what we have is a sign and a request and then encouragement. So the sign is for a public space protection order area. I have no idea what that means, but common sense tells me that that applies to everywhere in the UK. This request and encouraging patrons to leave and be quiet, which is good to know. Especially when you've had a few drinks inside them. It's a whole purpose of that provision. And they promise that they will monitor the use and perimeter. What it amounts to is when there is an objection of patrons, it then becomes our problem. I can't see that the security staff have any rights to intrude on anything happening beyond their perimeter. Because then it becomes a serious case for that person, that security guard. As far as the noise is concerned, all these changes in hours, and I'm still not sure if they want to play music on one. But anyway, let's put it this way. They very casually mentioned that the front area will be for 10 smokers. I don't think they realise how much noise 10 people can cause, especially at 12 o'clock at night, where the sound travels much further. So that's not an issue to our advantage. What I think should happen is that they close premises at 11 o'clock. No extra time for patrons to leave, just close. That's it. The application doesn't mention much about all the ongoing problems with the back area, and there have been plenty of problems there regarding noise and that's interference with the local resident in a general way. And from past experience, these businesses always go quiet while an application is in process. Seeing the last week's branches, we expect, I would expect noise level. Essentially, I'd like you to consider that a low volume in the space is one thing. They're apparently going to lower the music.
So they will reach the 5 minutes.
Right, that's fine.
Anything extra? Okay, thank you so much. Do members have any questions for Mr. Bailey? Thank you. The applicant, do you have any questions? Okay, thank you. I will move on now to Mr. Brian Barnes. Please keep to the 5 minutes. Thank you.
I'll try. This has been ongoing for must be 9 years. Different people taking over, so they say, but it's the same people. In the same habits, causing noise, disturbances, not addressing the problem. What is the problem in addressing the problem? If you're living next to a facility like that, you would have expected the problem to be solved, not ongoing. It's out of order, no respect. There's a lot of elders that live on that road. My mum is of elder age, 84 years old, and she's going to be putting up with noise like that. People coming out at what time in the morning? 2 o'clock in the morning. Crazy, no way, no way. We want, as residents, for our rights to a private life, we want our rights respected. And there's also a duty of care for the council and so on, and even on the owners to make sure these things are carried out. And they've had opportunities, even these new so-called new owners have had opportunities to sort it out. They've still not sorted it out. We've had direct text messages to Merton. It's the Merton over there. Now, anytime there's a noise, I mean, we've put in over 72 complaints. That's disgraceful. Yeah, that's disgraceful. On top of that, the opening hours from 4 o'clock to 11 p.m. if it was to be granted, would be the hours that we would set. But I would say it should to exclude licensable activities for at least 6 months to see if they can follow procedure, to see if they can be disciplined enough to do that. I mean, I work with police, military, they're very disciplined. I've managed before, so I know how to manage a place. And the mistakes that I'm seeing is amateurish, and it's not good. It's not good enough. If you've got
some of these comments are somewhat disrespectful. I would ask you as chair to remind the representative from the residents that he needs to be careful what he says.
Okay, but this is his time to speak. I do urge everyone to be respectful, but please bear in mind that we're going into his time and this is his time to speak. Thank you.
Nonetheless, you can't make libelous and slanderous remarks.
Please, you would not want your time to be interrupted. Please do not interrupt his time. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I think we had this for over 10 years. It might have not swearing.
Sorry,
Over 10 years.
sorry.
Okay. I just urge that please be respectful.
Yeah, I am
Okay.
respectful. Trust me, I'm being very respectful.
Please be respectful.
But please show the same respect. Yeah? Show the same respect. How can you be
Yeah.
Thank you. That's not how you can address the chair.
Okay, so basically, they've been well aware of the complaints going on and they've still not addressed the problem. We have tried to communicate with them. I've been mainly communicating with, I'll say Mr. Burton, but I've been mainly communicating with Merton and so forth. But at the end of the day, for me to be calling every so often to say music is up, please turn it down. It's got to be addressed. And also, I do remember Merton saying that they will address it within 2 weeks, within a week of the 11th of July. between the 11th of July and 15th of July, but nothing has improved. We are still hearing sound. And if you're not playing music, but you're playing background music, we're still hearing it because that's what I was explaining. Sound travels and sound travels upwards. So my mum's going to get the full blare of that. And I've had to put the CCTV on my property. Actually, we did that last night because we've had enough of all these disturbances. We've got a right for private life not to be disturbed. So we would like our rights to be respected. But I would suggest 6 months to see if they can be disciplined enough to carry out all the things that they say they want to do, like all the bookwork, all the health and safety, everything is in place. Everything that should be in place now. I was looking at the report about CCTV.
Mr. Vines, we've just reached the time. Yeah, thank you so much.
Chair, if I may, just to clarify that the committee doesn't have the power to suspend the licensable activities for 6 months if the license is granted.
Thank you for that clarification.
Cheers.
Thank you. Do members have any questions?
Yeah, so, you said the problem has been going on for 10 years or so, but can't find it exactly in the papers. One of the representatives of the union note of it as well, of when it was a public house, well, you know, when it was another public house owned by other people. When was that exactly? When did, because from the reports that seemed more recent than 10 years ago, but that might be
When it was owned by like the Irish guys, it was a pub and it was for the community.
And when was that?
Chair, if I can interject there. So the Duke of Edinburgh, as it was. So it came into the new regime in 2005 as a public house. And like I said in the report, they applied to vary that licence in 2011, I believe it was, to go for later hours, which they managed to get. But then the pub company then left the premises, that got sold on to new people. And I think what Mr. Barnes is then referring to is the demise that's happened since that time, basically, that then ended in the review of that particular licence.
Thank you for the clarification. Vines, do members have any further questions?
Yes, Chair. You say you've made a number of complaints to the noise team and environmental protection. And I believe they've got a very long record of you making complaints on a regular basis. Have they provided you with a logbook?
They provided me with a logbook. I keep a diary.
But have the ASB team provided you with a logbook to record the incidents?
No, I keep a diary.
Have they provided you?
Yes, I do to the evidence team.
Sorry.
I think we just got a point of clarification.
Too many people on, so okay. Just to make Mr. Don, no, we don't provide anybody with logbooks and like that having a, but the advice is that they keep their own diaries, basically.
So the supplementary question then, does the local council provided you with a sound recording meter so you could record the levels of sound at your premises?
The council provided me with a meter.
Yes, to take readings of the noise that you say is affecting.
Mr. Dunn, I think there's another point of clarification.
Mr. Don, again, I will clarify that. So no, there is a reactive noise team that, you know, if complaints are submitted, the residents can submit complaints online or via the outbound phone line, and the officers are the ones who will go to that particular venue to establish whether it's a nuisance or not. But you don't have issues that will give out to anyone.
Will you accept that in the bundle there isn't a report from the ASB team where they had responded to noise complaints and found no statutory noise nuisance have taken place?
The area, we can hear on the street is disturbing us. We do not want to be disturbed every single night. Thank you very much.
Yeah, any further questions? No, thank you. Okay, we'll move on to Mr. Sheikh Surprisey. If you can please make your presentation, please keep to the 5 minutes. Thank you.
That's my little point. Nothing is what's transpired from District 22 is inspiring any confidence. I would say that with all honesty, it doesn't inspire any confidence at all, because the thing is, prior to any license granted, everything should have been done in place, staff should have been trained, everything. That was never carried out, never carried out. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Surprisey. Do members have any questions for Mr. Surprisey? Does the applicant have any questions for Mr. Surprisey?
Any questions now?
Thank you. And we've got Mr. Charlie Ward online, one of our other residents. Mr. Ward, can you hear us?
Mr. Ward has.
Yes,
Yeah. So we're just putting your volume up just so we can hear you. Bear with me.
okay.
Yeah, we can hear you. So you've got 5 minutes to make your presentation. Thank you.
I mean, do I need to repeat what was in my, the representation I made? Or is this like?
No, you don't need to repeat, but just if you've got key points that you want to raise, that'd be good.
Okay, the first point was, as well as this application, there's been various planning applications for this premises, and it's very confusing to work out the difference between the two, how they overlap, and etc. So if anyone, if the chair's got clarification on that, I would like that. And basically, I would just say, repeat what the likes of Brian and Robert have said. It's the anti-social noise and behaviour that's the big problem. As you say, it's been going on for 10 years or whatever, and there doesn't seem to be anything that the owners, previous owners, have done to improve the situation. Yeah, I think I will leave it at that, just to say that I fully support the other residents' objections to this application.
Thank you, Mr. Ward. Do members have any questions for Mr. Ward? Does the applicant have a question for Mr. Ward?
Any questions, Mum?
Chair, he asked for a point of clarification regarding the planning regime, the licensing regime. If you could maybe just explain that they're two separate regimes.
Yeah, so just on the point of the planning and the licensing, as our council lawyer just mentioned, that they are two separate regimes. So we're just focusing on the licensing regime here.
On the licensing objective.
And and promotion of the licensing objectives. Okay. We'll now move on to the applicants. Mr. John, you have 5 minutes to make your presentation. If you need an extension, you can ask me.
Chair, I'm very much grateful if you could extend it to 10 or 12 minutes. The reason for it is becoming more complex as evidence before the meeting. If you allow me to speak for slightly longer, then I should anticipate most of the questions, and it will actually reduce the time of the meeting.
Will Mr. Polly be speaking, or will you be covering that as well?
Covering it.
Okay, so then I'll do the 10 minutes just so that you're covering all. Okay, I'll stick to 10 minutes then.
This is an application for the grant of a new premises licence for District 22 Limited. There are currently 2 directors, Mr. Tabali and Mr. Jashari, sitting in the room there. The application was somewhat frustrated through procedural errors. And I think that's on part of my client's licensing agent. But nonetheless, we attempted to recognise the concerns of local residents and the various responsible authorities who have chosen to make representations. To that end, we had submitted a revised set of conditions that, for the most part, reflect the proposals from the police and environmental protection. But we haven't given way on the hours to the degree that the licensing department would want. We also have to be fair to the business. The Duke of Edinburgh pub, as it was back in 1900, was authorised to sell alcohol as a pub under the old 1964 Act. Transferred on grandfather rights, 2005, and as we've heard from your licensing officer, confirmation that there was a variation to the licence that went through 2011, and it was subject to review, and the hours rescinded back in 2016. The old premises licence, the Matisse Bar and Lounge, was authorised to licence for activities effectively from 10 in the morning to 23:30 hours each day, with an opening hours of the premises of further 30 minutes. Late night profession, of course, is only between 2300 and 23:30 in this case. For the previous 2 years, it would appear that the then operators who have been caused a lot of the problems and is no longer involved in the business is operating without a premises license at all. It would appear that the premises license holder for the Matisse Bar became insolvent, and during the 28-day consultation period, no application was made. So we have new owners, District 22 Limited. One of the old owners was a director, hence the company designed, and that was part of the financial transactions buying from one company, one individual to another. And we'll see from the registrar in Companies House that there are now 2 directors who are present in the room. The revised operating schedule does include a revised plan. That plan includes the front of the building. Now, the front of the building is actually located in Maze Road. That's the address of the public house, and it's an extremely busy road all the way through to the early hours of the morning. Heavy levels of traffic. You have other venues, licensed premises in the area, open until 2, 3 in the morning. But it is a very busy thoroughfare. The hours have been amended simply, the license from activities have been limited to the sale of alcohol. And your licensing officer is absolutely correct under the Live Music Act. That doesn't prevent my client, should the application be successful, from conducting live music or recorded music up until 11 PM without the authorisation on the licence, unless there are specific conditions, and we're happy to accept certain conditions on that part. But let us define licensable activity in terms of entertainment. Recorded background music in itself that you hear in the supermarket, that you hear in the restaurant, or indeed in the shisha lounge, is not a licensable activity. It only becomes licensable if it becomes a form of entertainment, people are dancing, and it becomes now that a normal conversation can't be heard. So we've removed recorded music as a licensed activity. Should you be minded to grant the license, you may say, well, actually, there'd be no music after, say, 22, 30 hours at the front of the building, which is exposed to the general public. But we would ask that that condition wouldn't be imposed in the shisha area at the back. Now, here's the nub. What causes a statutory nuisance in terms of noise? Well, it's the decibel levels at the nearest noise-sensitive premises. It doesn't matter particularly what goes on the premises, it's whether it adversely affects the local neighbours. And we have done some sound tests, and indeed the ASB team have visited, particularly what I refer to as Red House, further down the road, and they have seen no evidence of noise. In fact, they've been in the various reports before you, and they have stood outside of the premises immediately outside the premises, and they still can't hear a thing. And yet one of the representations has said, well, you can hear anything across the road. We deny that. We don't think that's happened, and actually it's been borne out by the ASPT on numerous occasions that there's no statutory noise nuisance. In fact, my clients, by removing the called music, they said, well, when we discussed what the style is, they said, well, don't need the called music because we're not playing it loud, we're playing it as background music, ambient as a shisha lounge. And I've been there today, and it's a lovely venue it is. They certainly don't want to upset the neighbours. They claim so there's vibration in the house opposite the road. That can't be. There's not a particularly high base. That means it would have to go through the premises, go through the wall, cross the road, cross the garden, and into the walls outside.
Please, no interruptions. Thank you.
And the noise team would say there's no evidence of noise. It's not what we name state neighbours we do. In respect of antisocial behaviour, we have asked, and one of the representations alluded to that, in respect of noise, we will have a noise management plan, and we are more than happy to agree that with environmental protection, because otherwise this is going to be an ongoing issue. We need to resolve it, and that's what we're going to do. My clients have already taken action in terms of repositioning speakers and so on. We've done the sound checks, and it is inaudible next door. You cannot hear the sound. In respect of the weekends, on a Friday and Saturday, where we've asked to open later, we have said that we will employ, as a condition of the licence, store supervisors, provided we are authorised to sell of alcohol up to at least midnight. Every Friday and Saturday, we will employ store supervisors to monitor the front door and the rear area, and those security will be wearing focus jackets and body-worn cameras and so on. And they will be responsible with the management for ensuring that there's a safe and quiet dispersal of patrons at the end of the shift. Now, we have amended the hours to much more Wally's hours, Sunday through to Thursday, with a terminal hour of 23:30, but we have asked for Fridays and Saturdays through to 00:30. We've also asked at the end of each terminal hour, either during the week, 11:30 or half midnight at the weekend, to have a further 60 minutes open to the public. Now, here's the thing. Hours open to the public aren't particularly enshrined within the Licensing Act, albeit they are on the application form. Best practice, and those who have been in the licensing regime for some time, pubs used to have 20 minutes drinking up, clubs 30 minutes. Best practice by far, as promoted by Best Bar None, is to allow 60 minutes. So the final drink is purchased to stay at midnight. The customer has 60 minutes to consume their drinks, and at today's prices of beer, that's quite expensive. Enjoy their beer, finish their conversation, and disperse over time. What you don't want is to go back to pre-2005, when everybody out at a certain time at the same time. Lights up, had to drink, away you go. Much better that people drink away over a period of time. And that's why we asked for a 60-minute length. In addition to that, of course, consumption of alcohol is not a licensable activity. And I refer back to the licensing officer's comment in their representation that it is alleged that my clients, and his colleagues will continue.
We've reached attendance, Mr. Van.
But just make the point, they say they're in breach of attendance because people were on site after a 10. A temporary event notice, and I'm sure your legal advice will reaffirm, is for the, when in this case was for the sale of alcohol. If it finishes at midnight, can't sell alcohol, but there is absolutely nothing stopping the guests from continuing to drink. We have revised the conditions. Yeah, just in summary, we've revised the conditions. We think they are appropriate, proportionate and balanced to all parties concerned.
Thank you. Do members have any questions for the applicant? Yeah, councillor Costa.
Okay, couple of questions. On your revised application, you've changed your opening hours to start opening at 0800 hours. Could you explain what's going to be happening between 0800 and 1600?
At the moment, nothing. We are just indicating that eventually we be straight to breakfast, morning coffee, afternoon teas and so on. Should the application be successful today in Formula Park, then it's likely that we will make an application for a variation to extend the liability sale of alcohol from 11:30 AM in the morning. It was unfortunate that the conversations with my clients and their licensing agent at the time implied that they should be opening at 4, where that actually wasn't the intention. Once the kitchen is full running, it's a food cafe style business that happens to evolve. And that's why we're amending the hours open to the public. Also, we'll open at 8, it's just give the flexibility. And indeed, just interpretation of law, hours open the hours open to the public actually isn't enshrined in the act. It's yet to be taken into judicial review, including whether it's relevant or not. Your legal advisor may have slightly view on that.
Well, it would be normal practice for the committee to state what the opening hours are on the licence.
With regards to recommendation 5, prevention of crime and disorder from the police, your amended application doesn't go as far as the police recommendation. What's the reason for that?
It's the two main elements was that in respect of that. One was having not supervisors on a Friday, secondly from 6. We think that's disproportionate. If they're running with food service and so on, we expect to have full supervisors on. I doubt there's any premises that actually has full supervisors on until 10 o'clock at night, because that's when the planning changes. And the second thing was in relation to immediately downloading information. Most CCTV systems, you can do playback in parallel as a continued recording. If you need to download the information, then the recording stops. And then you can mention of your license condition. If they wanted to download something in the middle of the service, which indeed is a regular occurrence in the licensed premises, not necessarily just in relation to yours, but to the outside cameras or something elsewhere. The normal customary practice now with the police, if they come in, wish to view on playback, then instantly they can use their own cameras to record it. But of course, that information is required very often for evidential requirements, and therefore it has to be downloaded procedurally. And we're suggesting that if that's best done the following day, so it can be downloaded on a USB stick. So we've looked at those conditions, and they're pretty bog standard across the whole in Wales, licensing applies, but we just think that they need to do.
Thank you. I've just got a question with regard to the shift area, because in the revised operating schedule, there's no mention about the shift area. So I just want to know what the plan for that area is going to be. Okay. Knowing that what Ms. Shah said about it having to be open 50%. So if you can just clarify.
Well, indeed, it is. It's a pub. It's a pub garden, but it does have very high walls, very thick walls, and some of it is covered. So in order to comply with the state regulations, it has to be open. But again, by removing the recorded music, there's no chance that my client raise the level of the music in order to cause a nuisance. And that is why we're seeking maybe a condition that there should be no noise nuisance at the nearest sensitive property, which isn't necessarily immediately outside boundary wall. It's normal customary practice for committees to include such a condition, so it's relevant, and it might be along the lines of it shall be no more than 40 decibels or no more than 60 decibels of the nearest noise sensitive premises.
Thank you. Just one more question. There's a mention about a hotline number in one of the conditions. How can residents feel confident in being able to contact that number in order, if they have any concerns, that they won't have any backlash or anything like that? How can they have that trust moving forward?
Well, my clients recognise you have to work in partnerships, not just working with statutory authorities, it's also working with local residents. This hotline has become quite popular with festivals over the last couple of years, when I've used it 10,000 people, it actually may cause a problem. So what we're recommending is that my clients have a dedicated phone that's not their own personal phones, that the duty manager will carry in order that any noise complaints or any antisocial behaviour complaints can be brought to the attention of the duty manager, and then it's up to the duty manager to take the appropriate action. Now, indeed, the duty manager may well be one of the directors of the company, but in order of continuity, it's not better that it is the duty manager, whoever that may be, and then they will have the authority to take the appropriate action.
Sorry, Councillor, so just one more point that just came to my mind. I was reading in the papers, got exactly what page, my apologies, but with Mr. Polly's association with the previous owners, I just want to get clarification with regards to that.
But if you were to buy a residential property, it's quite clear cut. You put a deposit down, you exchange contracts, and on the final day, contracts are finalised, you move in. Buying commercial business is not quite as clear cut. Generally, you can agree heads of terms, at least owing to the various searches and so on. We've got pictures and fittings and so on. So my client was keen to get into the business faster. The outgoing licensee, who was not licensee, was the operator, the outgoing operator, was keen to dispose of the assets, but as a matter of caution, they were both directors of the company in order to make sure that there was a fallback position if one or the other party reported payments. That has now been successful. He has resigned. The other business investor has come on board and is now a director. There is a copy here of Company's House, and the previous director, Mr. Be familiar with the license officer name?
Mr. Masisi.
And he's no longer involved with the business whatsoever, and all the fixes and fixings and so on there by the owners here today.
Councillor Lutz.
Self-question. However, I do want to ask about the various, in fact, not questions, yeah, questions that took place on the property when it was an unlicensed stall. Sorry, when they were getting breach of license. Was that?
I'm bitterly disappointed that the ASB team are not here to answer our questions, because there seems to be a lot of misinformation and a misunderstanding of what the extent of the temporary licenses and what is in breach of licensing. My clients were granted 2 temporary event notices. Both of those were due to finish midnight, and it did so. But when the ASB team visited the premises, there were still customers on site, and they were told they can't. Well, I think the first of it was Mr. Charlie and staff members, and those sitting around still on site, and they were told by the ASB team, that can't happen. If the temporary event notice finishes at midnight, you must be off site. Well, that's not the case. That's not what the licensing act says. A temporary event notice in itself isn't actually a license. It's simply a notification of the licensing authority. Legally conducting licensing activities. It misstates it as simply the sale of alcohol. Sales finished actually before midnight, but there were still people on site. And that happened sometime on the second occasion as well. In fact, when it's told, my clients were told that they had to shut at 11. By HSBT, under what pretense? That's wrong. There's no planning consents to say that they have to shut at 11. And if there are people still on site at 2 in the morning, under the back of on the back of a temporary event notice, they're perfectly entitled to be there. If they're still drinking beer or wine, so be it, because the temporary event notice is finished and consumption is not a licensable activity. Now, it might have been different had the premises license been in place and there was a condition that thou shalt remove it. All patrons would have left the premises by a certain time, leaving only staff or business associates and so on. But there's no such thing. There's no premises license in place at the moment. So the ASB team were quite erroneous in their assumption that there was a breach of licensing. And unfortunately, they're not here to respond to that, which is obviously the list of questions that we have.
Thank you.
Sorry, Chair, was your question about the unlawful operation, or was it about the noise complaints that had occurred?
It was about the officers visiting the premises. I can't remember the exact date, so I can find it in the pack. And there will be still drinking. I think that is the about that. Right.
Councillor Costa.
Okay, could you then provide clarification? Because I think, Councillor Hudson, you're talking about the event, bear with me, on the 16th of May. And I think the question also relates then to the first event on the 1st of July, which there were guests still drinking in the premises beyond licensing time. And I believe the end of the visit was 0021 hours.
Could you direct me to the having the
No, I don't want to press my iPad for that. Page 32 of the noise and nuisance team references both dates. And on the list, on the Excel spreadsheet list that was provided, the 1st of July relates to 3 from the bottom. If you have a copy of that one with you as well. And I believe that in the police report, page 38, it also references the visit on the 4th of July relating to the event on the 1st of July.
the police report related to the report the Environmental Protection did on the noise team did rather than the visit themselves.
Any other questions? Yeah, we'll do the members and then we'll come to the questions. But bear with me, we'll just finish.
Sorry, apologies. With regards to, obviously, the revised application now includes the front terracey, front garden area. I think, no, I'm going to leave that. I'll leave that for now.
Well, I mean, maybe comment. I mean, it would be unreasonable for the condition to say that the smoking area, that the area can't be used after say 22 to 30 hours. And then the number of smokers will be limited to 6 or 10 at any one time.
And you sort of answered the question I was going to ask, and then decided not to ask the question.
Now, do we have questions? Yeah.
You say it's an assumption, right? Everything we've done is not an assumption, it's a fact. I think what you're trying to do is dress up a lot of things. You're acting for your things.
If you could just be a question, please, no statement. So it is a question for the applicant.
It's not an assumption. Everything we've done from outside is fact, right? It's not an assumption. You don't dress things up either.
Mr. Sabrati, yeah, if you can please keep it to a question rather than a statement, please. So do objectors, do you have any questions? Yeah, okay.
He spoke a lot, and as far as we're concerned, residents, he's not respected the that different roles.
Just as a warning, please keep it to questions.
They'll have an opportunity to sum up.
Mr. I'm going to know his name. I'm sorry about this. Mr. Sadia?
No.
Abi? Sadia?
Mr. Masudi,
Yeah. Sorry about that.
that was the previous one.
Yeah, he resigned on the 9th of August, 2022. So that is very recent.
Yes, indeed, the main directors of the company who are here today instructed their accountant to remove him as a director, and he took some time to get round to doing that. And also when he submitted a report to company sales, there's quite often a delay before it pings up onto the report that's in the public domain.
It's the person was a director on the 17th of September 2022.
Sorry, Chair, I'm just going to have to go back. The answer would be no.
No, it's in Company's House. It's in Company's House.
So, sorry, could you just ask the question again for me?
I just said Merton was made a director on the 17th of September 2022.
Sorry, yes, that's absolutely correct, but you've been involved in the business for a few months earlier. During the month of August, I think 3 or 4 weeks, I would get around to just give a nod. He was actually on holiday abroad.
So does Merton be on the freehold now?
Mr. Vance,
Oh, sorry.
yeah, if you just put it to.
Does he own the freehold now?
That is commercially sensitive information. There is a separate freeholder for which these have been obtained.
Okay, English, please.
The freeholder is a separate company.
Okay, if we can, because it seems like it's going to the realms of cross-examination, if you can please just keep your questions clear and come by myself in future. Do you have any further questions?
Okay, I mean, there are other complaints made on the, let's see, on the, sorry, there are complaints made. When you received the first 10, there were complaints made. Why weren't lessons learned from the first 10 license?
My understanding that these complaints weren't substantiated by the ASB.
Any further questions?
The second license.
Just to double check, how many more questions do you have? Because I know there's other people waiting as well.
I've got to.
Can you just keep it to 2 more questions at the max? Because I know that Mr. Ward's also been waiting as well.
Do you have it?
Yeah.
You mentioned the noise management plan, and you've been working with the noise team to put this together. Would you have any objections to tenants being involved in that process?
Well, yes, with other clients, what we have done is introduce a noise machine in the premises, so we have particular recording points. That the actual drafting of the plan is best done with professionals from my client's side and for the environmental protection, because you have to do with facts and so on. Now, I'm sure my clients would be receptive to some input of where the nearest noise sensitive premises are. in order to help realise that plan. But ultimately, it be down to my client to write that plan, with advice from some specialists and with the cooperation and approval of the Environmental Protection.
Thank you. Any further questions? Just one more if possible, just because I don't want to keep listening waiting.
It's just a scenario, if that national security staff back to reject the patient, is that trouble? That person subsequently causes trouble outside the room. Your security staff are aware of it. Can you look in beyond the career term?
Yes, is the answer.
As private citizens.
Sorry?
As private citizens.
Well, nonetheless, it is responsibility incumbent on all premises licence holders to ensure there's not only prevention of disorder on their own premises, but also in the immediate vicinity.
Would that not put your security guard in a position where he is?
Yeah, just a succinct question, please. Just one more. Yeah, is it just a follow on?
Well, yeah.
Okay, just a follow on question, and then we'll go to Mr. Ward.
Surely that would be good. Security guard position where he's identified a private security man.
All of the course supervisors governed by the Security Industry Authority. Obviously, the course supervisors will have to be registered. They do undertake 5 days of training now to make sure they're suitably qualified. They do risk every incident. It's unlikely that a peer supervisor would get involved on his own. Unless depending himself, who normally is calling support. And that's why most school teams work in pairs.
Thank you. Thank you. Now, Mr. Ward, I know you've been waiting patiently, and my apologies for taking too long, but yeah, if you could just ask a question to the applicant.
Yeah, there was a statement earlier saying that Maze Road was busy at all times of the morning. That isn't true. Yes, during the day, what with through traffic, work, business, some of the factories in whatever there during the day, but later on at night, it's a quiet residential street. In fact, I'm looking out on it now, and apart from the odd car going past, there's no traffic on the road. So I'd like to ask where he got the information to describe Maze Road as busy at all times of the night.
Did you get that?
What's a word?
Okay, can you, yeah.
Sorry if I may, Chair. What Mr. Ward was saying is that you described Maze Road as being busy during all times of the day and night. And Mr. Ward is saying it's very quiet during the night. So where did you get the information that it's actually busy throughout the night?
Yes, we can see it from members of staff, members of the management of the premises.
From
Confirm that it is busy throughout the evening.
Thank you. Any additional questions, Mr. Ward?
No, it's just that, and just to reiterate, as one of the residents, I'm sure the other residents can confirm, it's not a busy road after daytime traffic. It's simply a quiet residential street. That's all for me.
Thank you, Mr. Ward. Any other points of clarification that anyone wants to raise?
Sorry, I could back up what you say. There's certain parts of the night where it does quieten down. I did this.
The microphone.
Press the
Yeah.
button,
Yeah, certain parts of the night where it does quieten down, and I did do a video on it. I did send it to the council to say this is what we want, and I sent another video of all the craziness that happened where people just out on the street and all sort of funniness and whatever after a certain time, and that is very unfair to the residents. But there are periods of time now. What they're suggesting is to open them from. What's it, 8 o'clock in the morning to 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. for the type of area it is, that it's not feasible. It's not feasible, and you would know that as a person, that's not feasible. And every time,
Okay, if
every
we
time
could-
someone comes in, they
Miss Van-
want to raise the
Miss Van,
hours.
please.
You've got to take into consideration elder
Mr.
generations.
Please, it was just questions for the applicant, so you're making a statement, we're gonna have a summary bit where everyone gets to sum up.
Okay.
So if you don't have any further questions, we'll leave it at that. Okay, thank you, everyone. Can each party now sum up, starting with the licensing officer, then objectors, and finally the applicant? Please keep succinct, thank you. So licensing officer, please.
Thank you, Chair. I've got nothing further to add here. Obviously, the panel know that, any decision you make, you will need to give reasons of the before licensing.
Thank you, and now the objectors, Ms. Shah.
No music to be played in the extended area.
Thank you. Yes, we can follow through with the seven laps.
I've nothing to add to it. Personally, I personally cannot give this application from the planning application. Shows the huge findings to the level of the light is not there.
Yeah, relevant.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Scarati. And can we keep it to the relevance of promoting the licensing objectives as well, please?
Everything about the application, I'm disagreeing with. Very clear already, right?
Thank you.
Yeah, as I said before, every time they change owners, they come out with the same thing. That tells me they're not the same, they're not the same people. But what we're saying is we do not want those hours at all. If it was granted, the majority would have lost confidence in this particular building, regardless of who's in this building, because they let us down again and again and again. We have elderly people on the road, mental health problems on the road, people with cancer problems on the road. They don't want to be disturbed. This is not the West End. We are a residential area. It is not the West End. They're trying to turn our road into the West End. No one would agree to this on their road, and we do not want it on our road. 4 o'clock to 11 p.m. is good enough, evidently granted, but I say they should not get anything until they've demonstrated that they can carry out all the beautiful recommendations that I saw in those facilities, because from some of the reports I saw, all the things that they couldn't do were the things that I knew they could do. I won't go to that.
Yeah, just something up,
Yeah,
please.
I will go to that.
Sorry.
Just generally, 4 to 11, if it was to be granted, I do not want it. And that's where I lie, but I have to say, our elders, you have to respect our elders.
Okay, thank you so much. And Mr. Ward, if you can please sum up.
Just to say, I've heard nothing from the applicant to take any kind of cognizance of the residents' objections. In fact, they go further and they seem to spend their time trying to denigrate the residents' representatives and representations. So as I say, I'm completely unconvinced and I stand by my objections. That's
Thank you,
all from me.
Thank you, Mr. Ward. And now the applicant, if you can please sum up, please.
Indeed. Your statement of local licensing policy does suggest that the committee should strike a balance between commercial interest and the needs of local residents. The European Human Rights Act says you must address the concerns of local needs and the right to privacy and so on, but also the right for my clients to have the opportunity to earn a living. I can't comment too much on what happened historically. I wasn't there, neither were my two, the directors of District 22 Limited. Of course, under licensing, there is a history in relation to the place, but it has always been a public house. There was a planning application that was rejected because I don't quite understand the basis of the application to change the use. And 26 objectors said we want it still as a pub. And that's what we're asking you to do, to grant a license so it can continue to be a pub. The application is a balanced application between the needs and requirements of local residents, but also for a commercial concern to make it a going concern. We believe that the revised conditions on the licence will be sufficient to ameliorate any concerns and to remove any potential noise complaints. And again, I would repeat what I said earlier, that it is not about the noise on the premises, it's about the potential noise nuisance in terms of decibel at the nearest noise sensitive premises, which of course, in respect to some of the observations, can vary from times of night. We disagree with the licensing officer to say that the outside and rear premises should be completely no music at all. That is unrealistic. We have a commercial business, it's been there for over a century. We would like to continue, but we are recognising that there are great concerns being issued by the local residents, and we will do our utmost to ensure that there is no statutory public nuisance emanating from that property, should you be minded to grant the licence.
Thank you. Thank you all. We've now come to the end of this item. I ask that all parties please leave the meeting room so that the committee members have an opportunity to deliberate and make a decision on the application. The parties will be notified of the decision in writing within 5 working days of this meeting. Thank you.
That way.